All right, it's the week of August 9th. Nikki, what you got for us?
Yes, so we've had a good start to the week. We are still sitting in that mid to higher six range from a mortgage interest rate standpoint. A lot of that volatility has started to disappear, and we've kind of just got this even scale now. Hopefully, we can see some improvement as things come to an end from a summer standpoint. But right now, we're sitting in that mid to high six range, and just kind of going with that for now. Not much is happening from that standpoint.
Mhm.
Um, I did want to talk about a couple things today. First and foremost, um, when we talk about one of the things that has been brought up to me is when you have people or members of a family purchasing a home together or purchasing a family home and kind of what some of the logistics of that are. It's important to note that it's not necessarily a mortgage issue, but more of from a realtor issue of letting your clients know that there are some fail safes that they can put into place to make sure that the ownership of the property is understood by all members of the family. And so, a couple of things like it was brought to my attention that I have a client who owns a family home that was her grandparents' home, and she had started to do some renovation on this home. She purchased it 4 years ago, started to do some renovation on the home, and then ran into some issues with the home, etc., and wasn't able to complete the renovation. Now she's going back to her family members and saying, okay, either we have to have some ownership interest, on multiple family members, or we're going to have to sell this, or I'm going to have to sell this property. So she really wanted to get some advice and opportunity on what that looks like to have additional family members come into a contract or come into a purchase on a home, and also what that would look like if she took it on herself. And so brought up some interesting things. So there are opportunities if you have family members that are going to be purchasing a home, whether it's multiple children or you have parents and children, and you want something of more of like a business contract nature in order to be able to make sure that you understand the full terms of purchasing the home. Things to consider would be like what happens with the additional appreciation on the property? How does that equity get split when the home does sell? Who
Mhm.
gets decision-making opportunity to sell or keep the home? Is there an expectation of payback or payback of certain equity that went into the home? Is there an expectation of, who's going to share in the payments? What happens if someone who has ownership passes away? What happens if they want to sell their, portion of the home that they own? Things of that nature. How does that affect their ability to purchase a home in the future? These are all things that need to be taken care of when you have multiple members of a family purchasing a home together. This can all be done under trust, under an estate, with an attorney, things of that nature that are very familiar with how these family sales should work. And it's just an encouragement. And I was encouraging this client to just say, you know what? Talk to your family and then let's connect you with an attorney that has dealt with things like this before to make sure that you guys all consider everything that's happening here. And I was telling her to really treat this as more of a business ownership or business transaction than a family transaction.
Mhm.
Because yes, there's some emotional things in family that needs to be considered and some generosities that can, take place. But as, real estate agents and as mortgage originators or whatever that case is, it's important that they understand that if you're going to go into something with multiple family members and you don't think that there's going to be any issues, obviously always know that there is. And so it's just a really interesting reminder, really interesting topic to think about, as a real estate agent as well, and saying, okay, open your eyes, let's be transparent and let's think about this the whole way through.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, and it always starts, I think, with the right intention or the same end goal in mind. And often, if not always, along that road and along that process, there are major detours and like left-hand turns you did not see coming. And
Exactly.
yeah, and so it's keeping it as much business as you can, versus like the family because yeah, it's hard. I mean, I have people, and I'm sure you do as well, or you have other agents that have family members that just will not use family, or realtors that will not work with family just because it's not worth it. Because we know what goes into it. We know the emotions, the ups and downs, the good news, bad news, indifferent, whatever they make of it. And it's sometimes easier not to work with people
Exactly.
are gonna have to see
Exactly.
across the table at a holiday. It just can be really awkward.
Yeah, it really can be. And you want to, especially everybody with a family, like you said, has the best of intentions, but that
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily mean that it shouldn't be treated like a business, just to have those fail safes in place because emotions can get involved. People's futures can change. They might need the equity out of the property. They might need to ask you for it. And it's like, what do we have in place to make sure that they can access it at any time? Things of that nature. And so it's a really interesting dynamic, especially when you get renovation funds involved. And that's kind of what the other topic I wanted to talk about was renovation funds for a property. So obviously, when you purchase a property, you can, and if you, let's just say you wanted to flip the property, you can use what's called hard money in order to do so. That'll give you the funds to renovate and things of that nature, and you can use that money to renovate a property. But it's important that real estate agents and also mortgage lenders understand that there's also money that's available, like through some cities, through some down payment assistance programs, through some grants and things of that nature that are put specifically there and designed for renovating certain types of houses in an area. So, for example, let's say you had a more historic home that was built in the 1900s, like let's say 1910 in the Minneapolis area, and you wanted money to renovate. The city of Minneapolis has funds set aside that will offer you grants or forgivable loans in order to do a certain portion of the renovation for those homes. And so it's just those things that are keep in mind is that a lot of times cities or counties will have money set aside for renovation projects, whether it be for a newer home or an older home that they want to see used um, in order to improve the neighborhoods and improve the community. There's always going to be community funds set aside. You can get access to those by Googling. You can get access to those, just by calling your city, going onto their website, things of that nature, and know that there are funds that you can be available. With that being said, from a purely mortgage lending standpoint, if those funds aren't available or they've already been used up for the year, we do have renovation loan options available for you for renovating your home, whether it be second mortgages, whether it be redoing your first mortgage and cashing out, whether it be, doing a renovation loan based on the future value of the home. There's plenty of opportunity, and the money is out there if you do want to do improvements on your home, even post purchasing. So just because you're purchasing a home, you don't necessarily need to have those renovation funds accounted for right away on purchase. They can be done if you've already owned the home, or you can contact the city afterwards as well.
Yep. So for the people that are listening that are maybe sitting on potentially some equity or are looking at wanting to take out a grant or maybe a second loan or a HELOC, what would
Yeah.
you say if someone's looking at a HELOC versus either redoing your first and cashing out or getting a second? What's your
Sure.
take?
So it really depends on each individual situation. How much equity is in the home currently? And
Mhm.
is that going to be enough to do the renovations? Or are you going to need something that's based on the post-renovation value? That's the major question to answer at first. If you are going to be doing something that you have equity in the home already, the home equity line of credit provides you flexibility in the idea that you only make a payment on the balance of the mortgage, and it gives you an opportunity to borrow and pay down and borrow again and pay down. Kind of works like a credit card in that way. Like there's a line of credit and you can use it and reuse it, etc. And it gives you a lot of flexibility from that standpoint. The downside to that is if you bring a contractor in, it's not regulated that, as far as nobody's keeping track of whether the contractor's doing their work. Nobody's keeping track of, withholding any money for that contractor for the work that they have or have not done. Nobody's inspecting the property to make sure the work was done right. Those things you will get with a renovation loan is that the title company and the lender, i.e. us, are going to be sending inspectors out there to say, hey, yes, this work was done. And yes, it was done properly. So here's the remainder of the payment for the work that's already been done. So you have less liability with the contractor from that standpoint. Whereas if you use a line of credit, that's all on you to control where that money goes and how you're going to pay, et cetera.
Yeah. Nope, good point for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots to consider, lots of
Hmm.
moving parts. And I think
Hmm.
that's why, again, talking with you on all the options, because a lot of people don't know that their cities have grants available or, the down payment assistance, or what does it look like redoing your first and cashing out versus maybe
Sure.
getting a second or a renovation loan. I mean, there's so many different products out there. Um, you're the one that they need to talk to. So how
Yeah.
do they get a hold of you?
Well, you can call or text me at 952-484-1584. You can email me at Kevnick or Nikki at kevnickgroup.com, or you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at mortgages from MN to AZ.
Yep. And I think just even when we started off where we're talking about, a family and doing multiple different ownerships, or maybe you want to fix up your home, life shows up along the way in so many different ways. So it's really, really important to have someone like Nikki in your corner that can answer any questions. I know that a lot of my agents call you with just questions
They
because I'm
do.
talking about you all the time, and you're a great asset and a great help. And you're just there to even answer questions.
I
And
am.
you've definitely earned all the business and more that you've gotten. So thank you so much for always continuing to be there. Show up to this call and show up for anyone that needs you at any time. You're truly,
Absolutely.
truly a godsend.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I'm always here to help. And even if it doesn't end up in a transaction, advice is free. So
You are, yes, and it's
there you
amazing.
go.
So thank you so much. And anyone out there,
Absolutely.
if you have questions, if you have clients that have questions, if you're stuck, if you've been told no, Nikki loves the no. She'll find a
Mhm.
yes, I guarantee it. If there is one that can be found in any corner of this
Yes,
whole web that has been, tangled up, she will untangle it and you will find it. So call her, reach out to her, and she'll find a way if there is one, that's for sure.
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks so much. We'll see you next week, everyone.
Yes,
Have a great one and go sell something and give Nikki a call if you have questions.
absolutely. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.